French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. These are all separate languages, right? Well, what if I told you that they may actually all be dialects of one another? Hello, welcome to the Polyglot Files. My name is Michael, and today we're talking about the Romance languages. Or should I call them the Romance dialects? In today's video, we will be looking at the 5 most spoken Romance languages, exploring their shared history, and asking the question, are they really separate languages, or are they just dialects of one single language? To understand the interconnectedness of the Romance languages, we first need to look at the history of the Roman Empire. After being established as a republic, Rome expanded into almost all of southern and western Europe. With this expansion came the dominant language of the Romans, Latin. By 150 CE, Vulgar Latin was spoken all throughout the Roman Empire. It's important to note that Vulgar Latin wasn't a single dialect of Latin. It was in fact a collection of variants that had distinct traits that were specific to each place that it was spoken. When the Western Roman Empire fell in 476 CE, so did the political and social unity of much of Europe. These variants of Vulgar Latin then began to evolve separately from one another, developing into distinct entities. For example, French was influenced by the invading Germanic groups, Romanian was influenced by the Slavs, and both Spanish and Portuguese were impacted during the Arab conquest of the Iberian Peninsula. In fact, a staggering 8% of all Spanish words are Arabic in origin. Today, the 5 biggest Romance languages are spoken by more than 900 million people around the world. Not to toot my own horn, but I've studied 3 of them. In fact, when I started learning Romance languages like Italian or Spanish, I thought just watching shows and movies would make me fluent. Spoiler alert, it didn't. That's when I discovered LingoPie, the sponsor of today's video. It's like Netflix, but specifically designed for language learning. You get access to over 3,000 shows and movies, plus you can connect your Netflix and Disney Plus accounts for even more content. But here's what makes it really special. Every word in the subtitles is clickable. Just tap any phrase you don't know for an instant translation and it automatically saves it as a flashcard for later. My favorite feature? You can slow down the scenes to catch the pronunciation, and there's even an AI tool that helps you practice speaking. Whether you're learning a Romance language or Mandarin or any other language, you can learn from your desktop, mobile, or TV. I've been using LingoPie for a month now in anticipation of a trip I want to take to Italy in the summer, and I've noticed that my comprehension has greatly improved. Click on the link below for a free 7-day trial plus 55% off of a yearly plan. So, are the Romance languages actually distinct languages, or are they simply dialects of one another? While this may seem like a straightforward question, the answer is anything but simple. When discussing what constitutes a language and what constitutes a dialect, there really is no universally accepted definition or criteria. There are, however, some scientific ways that we can look at the question. Some scholars say that languages should be mutually unintelligible from all other languages. This means that speakers of language A, say French, should not be able to understand speakers of language B, say Italian. If they can actually understand each other, then the languages are not mutually unintelligible, therefore they're not actually separate languages. This would mean that language A and language B are in fact dialects. So just how mutually intelligible are the 5 main Romance languages? Measuring mutual intelligibility can be tricky and subjective, so for a more scientific answer, we want to look at lexical similarity. Lexical similarity is the measure of words that are similar between 2 languages. In a vocabulary comparison, we can see that words across the 5 major Romance languages are almost identical in some cases. In most cases, speakers of one language would be able to identify the word in another Romance language in spoken or written form quite easily. In fact, according to Ethnologue, the 5 most spoken Romance languages have lexical similarities that are quite high. For example, French and Italian, as well as Spanish and Portuguese, have lexical similarities of 89%. That means that 89% of the words in one language are almost the exact same in the other language. Even languages like Romanian, which have traditionally been thought to be very different from other languages in the Romance language family, have pretty high levels of lexical similarity, sitting between 70 and 80% of all vocabulary. But lexical similarity is more of a scientific method used to measure words. What about some actual qualitative or anecdotal data? Can speakers of one Romance language understand the others without studying? Anecdotally, mutual intelligibility evidence is quite rampant on the internet and on YouTube. A simple search in the YouTube platform will give you hundreds, if not thousands, of real-world examples. One of my favorite examples is a video from Dreaming Spanish. There is a native Spanish speaker and a native Italian speaker. They converse to each other in their own languages, and they're able to hold a 30-minute conversation with each other without much incomprehension. Even from my personal experience, I grew up learning French in school, and when I learned Italian and Spanish, I found that the languages were so similar that I almost didn't need to study vocabulary because I already kind of knew the vocabulary in my second or third Romance language. So, all of this evidence, mutual intelligibility, lexical similarity, personal and anecdotal experience, would point to the idea that the 5 main Romance languages are not actually separate languages, they are more like dialects. So why are they even considered separate languages at all? Well, the widely established boundary between a language and a dialect is actually political. In short, a language is a language and distinct from other languages simply because its speakers say it is. A language is a dialect with an army and a navy after all, according to Max Weinreich. Besides, these political distinctions are not just for the Romance languages. There are many languages around the world that are considered distinct from other variants, even though their levels of mutual intelligibility are quite high. Afrikaans and Dutch, Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, Serbian, Croatian, Montenegrin, Bosnian. All these languages are considered distinct from one another simply because the country where these languages are spoken say that they are separate languages. Otherwise, they act and sound more like dialects. In terms of the Romance languages, each language has its own culture, national identity, and history, and these cultures, national identities, and histories are different from the other Romance languages. That is what makes them separate languages, despite how similar or how mutually intelligible these languages are. The question remains though, outside of politics and national identity, are these languages actually really distinct on a linguistic level from the other languages in the Romance language family? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Further, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. You can also follow me on social media. I have an X, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As usual, thank you for watching the Polyglot Files, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!